Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Automated Advantage. We have Tricia from Incumbent FI on. She's got some really unique perspectives on business leadership and how they got started, and listen to the end and understand how you might be able to take advantage of their business services. Thank you, and hope everybody enjoys this. Well, hi, everyone, and welcome to the Automated Advantage. This week we have Tricia on, who's from Incumbent FI. Tricia, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us your role?
Sure. My name is Tricia Chitwood. I am currently the VP of Product and Support at Incumbent FI. So I've been in the payments business my whole career, starting out with a little company that did very niche payments in aviation fuel and trucking parts, and have done everything from that to healthcare payments, and now helping community banks and credit unions with their debit cards.
Got it. And so, tell us, and how long has the company been in operation? And you touched on what they do, so maybe just also take us through the, specifically what you do and what your typical client looks like.
Yeah, sure. So Incumbent FI as an entity on its own has been around a fairly short amount of time, but we really sprang out of a community bank that had a loyalty program that involved a prepaid card, and you could fund your prepaid card with your debit card. And there was just a lot of hassle with that. And their consumers, right, their account holders, like, why do I have to do that? I just want to use my debit card for this loyalty program. And everyone told them that couldn't be done. There was no way to do that. And they said, bet, watch us. And so they engaged with their processor, and with some backing from MasterCard, who was their card issuer, built a gateway for debit card transactions that allows an end user, a consumer, to select how they want to fund a particular transaction. Always defaults, of course, to your checking account, but you might have a rewards balance. You might link your card to your home equity line of credit, etc. And so they built this gateway and originally for the rewards program, and thought, we think there are other folks out here who could benefit from this technology. So sprung out of a community bank, and that's still who we're supporting today. We work with community banks and credit unions to add, what I would call fintech features to their debit cards, their existing debit cards, so that they compete with those big banks, neobanks, not only preserving their deposits, because everything stays in the bank, but also, potentially increasing revenue without interrupting their existing infrastructure. So that's what we do.
Well, that's interesting business model. Everybody's, it's kind of interesting to take these little tweaks on things and just make things better. So, as in your role, what does a typical day look like for you, if
Oh,
there is
that's
such a
great.
thing?
Well, as an early stage company, right? So the bank that created this technology kind of spun off IFI 18 months, 2 years ago. I've been on board a little over a year. Um, to create its own entity. I was really kind of hire number two. Our CEO was hire number one. I was hire number two. And so, my background, I not only have a product background, but also operations. So I have done everything besides sales so far. That's kind of what I do. So working with our development team to outline new features and enhancements, prioritizing items with them, developing our support model, and of course our implementation model as well. We are working with several partners, so there's a meeting a day at least with the various partners that we're working with, to organize some of the new features that we're bringing. So
Okay. Yeah. Well, that's good. So not no day is the same and not boring, I'm assuming.
no, that does not happen.
Well, that's exciting. And so
Yeah.
And talking about, so being employee number two, obviously, and you said you appear to wear a lot of hats. So, and I mean, do you have a team reporting up to you?
Right now, again, small company. We have I think hire number three was our executive VP who's in charge of go to market, and we have a director of risk and compliance. I think she was hired for. So we recently had a new CTO join, and there is also a senior product owner that reports up through me.
Okay,
Then our development teams right now are kind of shared resources with other organizations.
understood. Yeah, so then maybe talking through a small company, a tight team, how do what's the integration like? What is, what makes you guys function as a team, and maybe give us some ideas of what great teamwork looks like in getting things done with such a small,
Yeah.
lean team.
Well, I think for us, we're kind of in a unique position. I have worked with the CEO and the CTO and the product owner at previous jobs. So I recruited the product owner. And then, yeah, our CTO worked with him actually at two different companies over the course of my career. So we are able to really hit the ground running, right? Because we kind of know each other's quirks, strengths, weaknesses, and can help fill in those gaps. But I really think it's about we are consider ourselves hybrid, but we all are in the office at least 2 days a week. And I know people might wrinkle their nose at that, but I think when it's a young company and you've got to get things moving fast, it is really a convenient and easy way to be able to look over your shoulder and yell at Jim or or tap somebody's hand while you're in a meeting, like, hey, what's the. So it is. I think that has helped as well. And then really just we did do a very thorough kind of annual and quarterly planning to prepare for 2026. So again, kind of brought everybody together in one room. We sat down, what are our goals? Everybody has to agree that these are the right goals. And the timing, is this a first quarter, first half? So let's nail those down. How are we going to measure these things? Everybody agrees to those. And then, you break it down from there. And then everybody's kind of, at least got the same vision in mind. I think that's super important, especially coming from that product background. If you can make people see the vision, it's much easier to, get them to create it than to kind of dribble and drabble out little bits of info. If you've got that big picture to start with, even if you have to rearrange some things, it's much easier when everybody's working from that same vision. So
Yeah,
that was really important for us. Even in a small company, people might think a small company, why are they doing that? That sounds like a big company thing. No, it's really important. I even know people that do it in their personal lives.
yeah,
So it really, it does help.
yeah. And I mean, obviously, going back to the team that you all work together, I'm assuming you must like each other. And then, second of all, I mean, the vision thing's an interesting one in the sense of, sometimes like if you keep it in your head and you think everybody thinks they know it, as opposed to talking about it and making sure that you truly are aligned is something super important.
It is, and we're located in the Midwest, so we're in Kansas City. We have development resources in Vancouver, British Columbia, and we have a development team in India. And so, I'm never going to be able to look over my shoulder and talk to those guys, right? So it really is incumbent FI, and it's incumbent upon us on leadership to share that vision with everybody. It's not just something we're using in sales and marketing. It's something that we really believe in and need everybody to be on board with.
Hmm. Yeah, and so talk. I mean, it's a good segue into to a question is as far as understanding who your ideal customer is, but what's your customer acquisition model, and what's your message to banks and stuff like that as to why you guys are different?
Yeah, great question. What we are really seeing, and I'm sure folks that are in the banking industry or the payments industry see this a lot, is that these, in the time of mergers and acquisitions, banking is certainly one of the big targets. And there are massive, huge banks out there, right? And so we're really focused on these community banks and credit unions that are, struggling to keep up, to keep their account holders happy in a time of neobanks and fintechs, the Chimes, the SoFis, those people that are able to offer some really interesting um, experiences for consumers. And since we grew out of a community bank, that's still our focus. We want to make sure that we are keeping that community healthy by keeping those local banks healthy and meeting consumer needs at the same time. So really that is our message, is don't, there's a lot of noise, of course, in any industry, but in banking, the Genius Act and stable coins, that is distracting a lot of people, right? Other similar things. And you really need to focus on your core values and your core consumers and taking care of them. And so that's really what we're trying to do, is help them compete and
Hmm.
retain their consumer base.
Yeah, and you said so you have a go-to-market lead. So are they how are they reaching out to these banks?
Mm.
Is it calling? Is it mailing? Is it marketing? LinkedIn? What are you guys using?
Yeah, it's all of those things, but I think there are, again, within any industry, typically organizations, trade organizations, right? So a community bank trade organization, credit union trade organization. So trying to get hooked up with those guys, as well as within those trade organizations, it seems, I'll talk about one specifically, the Texas Bankers Association. They have a committee, a group that focuses on innovation. And so, spreading our message to them, so that they can share that with their base. And then partnerships for us, when we talk about what we do with the likes of MasterCard, for who we, we're part of one of their startup incubators, or Jack Henry, or um, Fiserv, when we are able to get those folks to get their heads around what we do, then they have a huge base of consumers and we can, or customers, and we can kind of get our message out that way as well. So channel partners have been important for us.
Okay. And so you touched on the Texas thing. So are you covering the entire United States, or do you have a focus of?
Yeah, it's the entire United States. Our founding bank is up in the Northeast. They're up in Maine, and but we absolutely, it is the entire U.S. banking and credit union industry. We're able to process for any of them.
Okay. And so being I've talked to quite a few ladies in business and things like that. So, you know, being an executive in a company, um, any guidance for if there's a young lady watching this and saying, "Look, I want to get into business," like, hey, this is what you got to do. Is it any different? You got to conduct yourself in a particular way. Any words of wisdom there?
I'm a little bit of a rebel. I always have been. I don't follow conventions. So it probably, and I'm not a people pleaser. I just want to get things done. I'm a very practical person and I just want to get in there and get things done. And I think that has been, um, my quirkiness has been a benefit as well as a drawback at times, because sometimes people don't take me seriously. But I will say, and I don't think anybody should take themselves too seriously. But if you can get in and prove that you can make things happen, I think hopefully we're in the day and age where that's what counts. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
get in there and do it. Do it
Yeah.
scared, you know, do it if you don't think you can. But yeah, get stuff done. Just get stuff done.
Yeah, no, I think that that's the valid advice for anybody. But I do think you're right as far as, my daughter who's about to be 30 and talks about the business world and things like that. And I mean, I said to her, honey, to me, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's like if somebody can get the job done, and I think we've evolved to the most part to that.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think it's true. I think that there are still, as the boomers move on, I'm Gen X, and I think things are different, right, with my generation and younger. So I think as the workforce, some of those older ideas and notions kind of move out of the workforce, it does definitely make room. It's yeah, I think we're in a better place now, certainly than when I started.
That's great. I mean, exactly. That's great to hear. Um, so thinking through process and things like that. So the not even the word of the week, the word of the minute is artificial intelligence and things like that. So maybe tell us, what do you got? Are you doing anything as it relates to product development and or day to day activities of looking at AI, or is it just like we just got so much to do, we don't know yet?
Uh, there is a lot to do. I think, as I look at what is happening in the world of digitization, right? I worked at a healthcare software company for about 8 years, sort of right at the peak of meaningful use, which was, hey, you've got to digitize your records in a way that's meaningful to consumers. And all that the healthcare industry did was move tasks online. They didn't make them better. And so that is one of the things that I try to always keep in mind, even with AI, is could I use AI to do that? Maybe. What should I? Right? Is it going to make something better? And like, the banking industry is kind of going through the same thing right now. Like everybody's got an online, banking platform now, but did it make things better? It may have made a few things more convenient. Um, but I think that digitization and automation really go hand in hand with improving the end user experience, not just shifting the burden. I went to the doctor's office the other day. They sent me a text, register online, register, check into your appointment. I'm like, no, why are you pushing that burden on me?
Yeah.
Right. When I walk into the doctor's office, I'll be like, I'm here. Okay, great. Now I'm checked in. Right. So I think we really needed to keep those things in mind. And with AI, we are starting to use that on the development side for some things like code reviews.
Hmm.
We're using AI. I ask AI a lot of questions, or large language models a lot of questions about how to do things, right? As we're setting up processes like the tools, right? Using HubSpot or Jira, etc. Um, so it's been super, super helpful with that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, it's definitely something I think the banks are, again, I think that's something that's kind of distracting them right now is AI as well. I don't think just putting in a chat bot or something is that really making the user experience better. I don't think so. Um,
Yeah, and
but
it's interesting you said that because I had actually, interestingly enough, had an account customer down in San Diego that is a bank, a bigger bank, and their edict was if you don't use AI, it's going to impact your bonus. And so the people said, well, what does that mean? And they were like, use AI, otherwise it's going to impact your bonus. So it's like we got to put some structure around it and some focus
yes,
and identify like, okay, what's the measurement going to be? So that was an interesting comment. But one of the things you said about digitization and making banking easier is, so I'm originally from South Africa, and what's really interesting to me is considering it's a third world country and the country that we are, their banking apps are phenomenal. Like literally can pay their electric, like they can pay electricity. They can go on an app and buy lottery tickets and do a bunch of different things. And I've always been intrigued by certain things that other countries are doing at a faster speed than us. And part of me thinks it's probably got to do with legislation and all of those types of things. But
So I'll tell you a little story about that because I've been in payments so long, and um, even just having a chip on your card, right? That was worldwide before the US implemented it. And the reason the chip, EMV, was actually originally created was because there weren't landlines, so as many landlines in in certain parts of Europe, in Africa, right, to have the little point of sale machines work. So they were like, well, how can we make it better? Let's let the card talk to the machine directly. The machine doesn't have to make a call to a processing center and get that data, right? So, but in the US, we had tons of landlines, right? So we didn't need the chip. And it really wasn't until MasterCard, Visa, Amex discovered the big card networks came and said, listen, you're doing it. We're mandating it, right? It never would have happened otherwise, I don't think. So um, there are definitely some geographical and technological differences in the ubiquity of technology or lack thereof that can spark innovation or cause pushback
mhm.
on some of those things.
Yeah, no, it continues to, like I said, intrigue me every time I'm over there. The activity that they're able to do, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I
Yeah,
wish we could do that. And so, to the point of making your life easier, not just having an app for the able.
right,
My daughter tried
exactly.
to deposit a check the other day, and it's so crazy to think that it wasn't working. So she ran down to the bank and deposited, and now her funds are locked up for 7 days or something. I was
Right. I know. And my own bank that I use that I love, it's a community bank, but I have been a Google Voice user for 20 years. So my cell phone is the same phone number it's always been because I it's a Google Voice number, right? Of course the phone has a SIM card with its own number, but I never give that to anybody. I never use it. But my own bank will not let me register on their app with my Google Voice number. So I don't use their app,
That's crazy. Yeah,
you
exactly.
know?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
simple stuff like that, right?
If you dug into the details, it's because somewhere down 77 pages at the bottom of
Mm,
the terms and conditions, it said, no online phone system or whatever.
right.
There's no
Right.
logic. It's
Yeah.
just a thing.
Well, and for a long time, Uber was the same. I couldn't use Uber because they wouldn't let me, they didn't
Wow.
recognize my Google Voice number as a mobile number.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy.
It is crazy as we evolve into the digital world, right?
Yeah.
Well, this was very interesting and intriguing, and I appreciate your
Oh,
points of
good.
view on business and things like that. So tell us again, the name of the company, how to find you guys' website, whatever it is, and anything that you wanted to promote or tell people about, and then
Oh, sure. Yeah. So it's Incumbent FI, just incumbentfi.com. We are also active on LinkedIn, so you can find us there. We'd absolutely love to hear from anybody who is interested in improving their debit card experience for their consumers. That's what we're all about.
excellent. Well, I appreciate the time, Tricia, and look
Yeah,
forward to having this out there so people can watch. So folks, take advice and go and look them up. Thank you so much.
great. Thanks, Greg.